Okay, so I've sewn a seam along here. I've sewn a seam along here to take the shape. Now the next step is trim this bottom edge. Leave about 1/4 of an inch along your seam, along your stitching. Okay. I'm going to take some soft neoprene here. There's different, or polypropylene, there's different polypropylene webbing that you can buy. I prefer the soft to medium, not the really heavy duty rigid, because I want to use this. Now, what I do is I have a little block of wood, I rounded it off, and then I can flatten out my seam, which is easier to sew than if it's bulky. Okay, so I have to trim away. This has to be sewn together and turned back the other way here. Now look here to see how this is going to fold together to go over top of the ABS. I think what I'll do is I'll sew this here where the ankle is. I'll sew this again along here. So I have some, unless I try to sew it and turn it back side out. If I do this, gotta figure this one out here. Sew that in like that, so it's closed. And I want to sew it the other way, it's just hard to turn it back after you've done that. So I'm going to put my trim on first. So it's done. Leave about 1/4 of an inch from the end of your trim. Then that way you've got some room for the foot of the sewing machine to connect. So I'll sew this on first, and then I'll see what I have to trim in order to sew the ends. So use your clips. You want to keep this in place. You don't want it moving around on you. Now this time I use 2-inch. Make sure I've got lots of extra webbing to connect to with my foot and my stitching. The extra, sometimes I use 1.5 inches, but I'm going to use 2-inch today. Okay, so there's what it looks like. Put your trim on to close the bottom where you inserted the pad. There's the trim on. Finishes off the bottom, looks really neat to do that. So I'm going to roll it over now and see, more or less feel what, if I can get it back or not. Sometimes you sew this together and you can't turn it right side out. Maybe we'll try it on the chair.